Hey guys, it's Miss Agata here. Thank you for tuning in. In this video, we are going to be talking about adding and subtracting radicals, specifically adding and subtracting square roots. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we get into adding and subtracting radicals, we're going to take a look at the steps real quick. Number 1, you need to simplify all your radicals if you can. Step 2 is to identify radicals with the same index and radicand, in other words, like terms. And then step 3 is to add or subtract coefficients and keep the common radicals. Let's take a look at some examples. Number 1, 3 square root of 11 plus 6 square root of 11. So in this case, my radicals are already simplified. I can't break down the square root of 11 because the only factors of 11 are 1 and 11. So square root of 11 is already simplified. And now I notice that these are the same radicals, which means I can add 3 plus 6. I can go ahead and add my coefficients together. 3 plus 6 gives me 9, so my answer is 9 square root of 11. So this equals 9 square root of 11, and that is it. Number 2, 3 square root of 27 minus 2 square root of 12. I need to break down the radicals first. I can break down the square root of 27, and I can rewrite that as the square root of 9 times the square root of 3. And then I need to bring down my coefficient of 3. The square root of 9 is 3, so this becomes 3 times 3, square root of 3. 3 times 3 is 9, so this is 9, square root of 3. And then now I can look at my second radical that I need to break down, and that's the square root of 12. I can rewrite the square root of 12 as the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. Of course, I still need to bring down my coefficient, negative 2. The square root of 4 is 2, so this becomes minus 2 square root of 2. Minus 2 times 2 square root of 3. 2 times 2 is 4, so this becomes minus 4 square root of 3. And notice how now my radicands are the same. They're both square roots of 3. So I can subtract. 9 minus 4 gives me 5. So my answer now becomes 5 square root of 3. And that is it. Let's take a look at some more examples. Number 3, negative 2 square root of 27 minus square root of 18. Again, first step is to break down the radicals. I can break down the square root of 27 and rewrite that as the square root of 9 times the square root of 3, because 9 times 3 is 27. And then, of course, I still need to bring down my coefficient of negative 2 and multiply. The square root of 9 is 3, so this becomes negative 2 times 3, square root of 3. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6, and negative 6 square root of 3. Now I'm going to break down the square root of 18. I can rewrite this as the square root of 9 times the square root of 2. Because 9 times 2 is 18. My coefficient in this case is a negative 1. It's not written on there, but it is a negative 1. I'm going to bring down the negative sign so I don't forget it. The square root of 9 is 3, so this becomes minus 3 square root of 2. And it looks like my radicands are not the same, so this time I cannot subtract. So this just becomes minus 6 square root of 3 minus 3 square root of 2. And that is my answer. let's look at one more problem. 10 square root of 7 minus square root of 28 plus 6 square root of 180. I need to break down the radicals that I can break down. I can't break down the square root of 7, so I'm going to leave the first one alone. And I'm going to break down the square root of 28 and the square root of 180. The square root of 28, I can rewrite that as the square root of 4 times the square root of 7. Square root of 4 is 2, so this, and don't forget the negative sign, so this becomes negative 2 square root of 7. And then I need to write down the square root of 180, so I'm looking for factors of 180 that are perfect squares. I know that 5 times 36 is 180, so that's what I'm going to use. I can rewrite the square root of 180 as the square root of 36 times the square root of 5. Again, I'm going to bring down 6, so I can't forget about the positive 6. The square root of 36 is 6, so this becomes plus 6 times 6 square root of 5. 6 times 6 is 36, so plus 36 square root of 5. And so I've accomplished the first step in breaking down and simplifying my radicals. Now I need to combine like terms if there are any. So I'm going to rewrite all of this in one line, so that way it looks a little bit cleaner. So I have 10 square root of 7 minus 2 square root of 7 plus 36 square root of 5. And it looks like the only terms I can put together is 10 square root of 7 minus 2 square root of 7. 10 minus 2 is 8, so this becomes 8 square root of 7 plus 36 square root of 5. And that is my answer. Again, you just want to make sure that you're only adding or subtracting coefficients that have radicands and radicals with indexes that are the same.